Me. Hello, hello, hello. Super pumped to be here. Today's topic is near and dear to my heart. It is getting out of this story of struggle, the figure it out mode, which is highly prized in our society, and instead to be living out a new story. So there's a subtle difference here because many times in our brains, we think figuring it out is how we're going to live out a new story. But in reality, it's quite different. So I want to share with you what you can do to get out of this place of searching and maybe reading tons of books and maybe working with different people and applying different strategies to really get clear on your path and even perhaps clear on who you are, what you're here to do, and how you want to live, and what all that entails, and the difference you're here to make, and the contribution you're here to make. How to get out of that cycle of analysis and searching and figuring it out and almost forcing something to happen, and get into a place of really walking your divine path. And so I'm going to share with you how you can use your struggle as your message, as your story, and to really start to look at your struggle with different eyes, and then how you can put that into practice. So if you have had, some struggles in your business, in your career, even just, finding what is the right business, finding what is the right career, finding what is the right path, and you've had those moments of just self-doubt and questioning, what's happening here is the default mechanism is to come from a place of a little bit of feeling of brokenness, like there's something wrong, and that's why you're on the search to go fix it. That's why you're on the search to figure it out, right? And that's what society, of course, praises, is you need to figure it out. But what happens here is the figuring it out is coming most often from the brain. And so the figuring it out goes to books, goes to strategies, goes to all these different techniques. And maybe you've heard of some, like shadow work and inner child work and tapping and all these things. And none of them are wrong or not helpful in themselves. But in isolation, when they're coming from a place of brokenness, coming from the head, trying to fix it and trying to figure it out, they're not going to have sustainable and long-term impact. They might give you a quick fix and you might be okay. And then that same pattern is going to come back, because the pattern is what needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed more holistically, not just from the head. It needs to be addressed from the heart, from the spirit. And that's where true transformation occurs, my friends. So say hello if you're there. So how you can really start to shift this is to, I know this is going to be a little bit counter sort of cultural, which is, always a good thing, is to resist the urge to try to figure it out and try to fix it, and to see the struggle that you're in is a gift. Because if you think about it, what you're going through, it is really designed to equip you with new skills, with new abilities, with more resourcefulness and resilience, and to strengthen your faith. Because on our own, when you're seeking all these external sort of practices to help you get back on track, you're disconnected from God, you're disconnected from your heart, you're disconnected from yourself. And you're thinking all these things outside of you are going to be the answer you've been searching for. And what you will find, and what I have found, is they will just leave you empty and leaving you feeling even more broken. So they don't work. So when you can get to this place where you let go of the pressure to figure it out and can come into a deep place of appreciation and acceptance for where you are, and be curious and compassionate about what is this here to teach you. And this is the coolest thing that I do with my clients, is to be guided back to, what is the root? Because what is happening here is there's a deep-rooted lie about your identity and about what's possible for you and what you're here for, which has been seeded at an early age through some defining moment, and then it became like this core story of who you are. And so getting to the root of that and being able to reframe it and change the narrative, change the story, so that you see that defining moment that planted that seed of who you needed to be, or who your family wanted you to be, or who you thought you had to be in order to be successful. All those beliefs, and which I call, sort of false beliefs, sort of put you on a certain trajectory. And when you start to look at it from a different perspective, it no longer is a negative story. It becomes the story of how it really developed you, how it shaped you, how it equipped you with supernatural abilities, because it put you on a very specific path that you were meant for. And you wouldn't have been able to learn all that you had learned if it hadn't been for that defining moment. But the thing is, you have to be able to change the story of the defining moment so you can live out a new story instead of living out a story of limitation and lack and brokenness and being stuck. And so when you're able to look at that moment with a higher perspective, which I shared in my last video, but with heart vision, then you can start to see how it was for you. Because if you don't do that, what's happening here is your brain is wired from that moment to think that struggle is success. And so it will continue to seek out struggle because in its neural pathways, it has been wired together to think struggle equals success. So it continues to seek out ways to struggle. And so until you are able to go back to that moment, redefine it, shift it, look at it from a higher perspective, and then begin to act against it so that your brain starts to see this is the new definition of success. Maybe it's joy, maybe it's peace, maybe it's faith, maybe it's love, and really acting in accordance with that new belief of who you truly are. And how you can really do this is to think, instead of searching, which many of us do, and I have done, for who you are and like reading all the books about, personality and skills and doing all these strengths finders, search for who God is, because and then focus on his characteristics, because that's who you are. You're designed in his image. And so when you can focus on the characteristics of God and see those in you, it changes how you see yourself. And that changes the actions that you take. Then it's easier to take actions against that old identity because that's not who you truly are. Your true identity is who God designed you to be. And that is a completely different identity from this identity of lack and limitation. So you're coming from a story of struggle to a story of victory. And what that then makes available to you, of course, is then you're starting to walk a different path because you're seeing yourself through heart vision, through a higher perspective. You're able to take different actions, and you're really be able to come into a place of trust and come into a place of really being secure in who you are. And in that place of being secure in who you are, you're trusting the next step. You're trusting you are designed for a specific purpose, that your path has been leading you all along. Maybe as you were on it, it wasn't clear, but from this higher perspective, you can see all the moments were perfect and that it has led you and equipped you to be in the place that you are in order for you to serve in the way that only you can serve. So for example, for me, I've had some difficulties in my business journey, and they have made me, in the beginning, I was really ashamed and embarrassed and felt really bad. And now I see I needed those because they make me a much better coach. They make me a much better business owner. Because if it had been easy, it would be really hard for me to help someone that was struggling in their business, because I'd be like, come on, you just do this and it all works out. What's your problem? But knowing, having been on the path that I've been on and have done all the things and have learned and made mistakes and, had to pick myself up and start over, that gives me a much different perspective in order to support people who are also struggling, and to be more compassionate and empathic, and also to be able to share my trials and my mistakes so I can help guide them to avoid some of those mistakes and to make better decisions and to connect more with their heart, because a lot of my troubles came because I was disconnected from my heart and I was really operating from my head. And so another example, there was a business coach years ago that I worked with, and one of the reasons I worked with her is because she shared her story of struggle, that she had, been years of on and off in her business, that she had struggled with depression, she had struggled with anxiety. And that connected with me more than her business skills, because I wanted someone that I felt could understand me and had been where I had been, because I knew that person could help me more than the most business savvy person, because that person, I probably wouldn't be able to connect with in the same way. And I would feel judged by them because they hadn't had the struggles that I had. But when you're working with someone that has had a similar path, then it's you're coming from a very different place because you feel more accepted. And this is the counterintuitive thing about how we change, is that we change through acceptance, not through punishment or through criticism. We all know we've beaten ourselves up to do things and it doesn't work. When we come to a place of deep acceptance and appreciation for where we are, that's when we're able to change the most. And so that's when the growth happens too. So, what is possible for you here is to really change that story of struggle, to get out of the cycle of figuring it out, searching for the answer, and shift to really begin to live out a new story right away by seeing yourself from a higher perspective. And by from that, taking different actions and really living a story of victory versus defeat, because there's always an option in every moment. So, this is one of the steps that I will take you through in my upcoming 6-week intimate group program, which I am super pumped about. And I want you all to join me on this amazing adventure, to walk alongside me as I guide you through many of the lessons I've learned in my journey. And doors open next week, but right now you can register. And if you register now, if you register by Friday, today's Tuesday, you will get a VIP one-on-one session with me. So you get personalized support and really how to make the most out of those next 6 weeks. And this is the perfect time to be doing this because we're heading into the holidays. And with the holidays come a whole host of the old identity resurfacing, the old patterns resurfacing, old behaviors, and a lot of triggers happening. And default patterns start to kick in with, distraction and some of our less than positive supportive behaviors start to come into place. So being on this journey for the next 6 weeks with me and having my guidance and being an amazing supportive community and having different, access to different perspectives and different resources so that you can walk into the holidays with confidence and have, empowering communication and have really rich conversations and feel really more connected to yourself when you're connecting with your family, instead of perhaps that internal conflict and instead of defaulting back into perhaps some of your old behaviors that don't support you. So I encourage you to reach out to me if you have questions about this. Like I mentioned, it opens. We'll start our first training on Tuesday of next week, so 1 week from today. And you can register this whole week. And if you register this week, you are going to be gifted an amazing one-on-one session with me to really begin your journey and a really ready to go deeper as we get into the next 6 weeks. So let me know if you have questions, and then let me know your thoughts on this message for today of really getting out of fix-it mode and get into really seeing and focusing on, not on who you are, but on who God is and his characteristics and how those are being developed in you, and how your path is what is developing those characteristics in you. Cool. Okay. Awesome. Thank you all for being here. Talk to you all soon. Bye.